Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Restomod Daisy with a hail and farewell video to a Daisy Model 140 Defender. You know, this is probably the rarest Daisy that Daisy ever produced because it produced the fewest of them. The gun was designed as a precursor to the conflict in Europe when Daisy realized they needed another army rifle, and the Model 40 was deemed to be too hard for us to make, and we've got this wide body platform, so we'll go ahead and mod it out and call it a 141 Defender. They also were getting feedback from the Model 40 that the 50 round magazine was considered a bit limiting because high capacity or shake and bake daisies had been all the rage. So the Model 140 Defender is called a 1,000 shot BB rifle. Imagine that, pour 1,000 BBs down your lightning loader tube, and boy, you could lay waste to the Nazis and anybody else that happened to get in your way. Another curious thing about the Daisy Model 140 is the fact that it has a functional bolt action safety. Now, this is the safety. When the gun is cocked, and let me see if I can show that to you. Watch what happens to the bolt when you arm the weapon. It kicks up and goes back. At that point in time, the gun is in a safe mode. It cannot be fired. You can pull all you want, but the sear transfer mechanism can't clear yet. So when the bolt is moved forward and down, only slightly, and if there was any red paint left on that little dot, you would see a red dot there. That would give you a visual indicator that the gun is ready to fire. Whoa, direct hit. So, customers sent me in the gun, and of the 28,000 Daisy 140s that were produced in 1941 and sold in 1942 and never produced again, this is the third one I've seen. And I mean, I went decades without seeing a Model 40 or a Model 140. 141s, 142s you can run into occasionally, and I have a couple of those receivers. But now I'm up to 3 of the rarest Daisies in the world. So when the gun showed up, the main issue was the trigger would not, the sear would not engage, the trigger would not release, the gun would not fire, no matter what position the safety was in. On, off, didn't matter. It just, the sear wouldn't engage, and that was a mystery as to why that was going on. And the other thing was that the owner was uncertain as to whether the gun would even fire if the plunger assembly could be engaged. So, got the gun in, did receiving inspection, it would not fire. So we didn't get any ballistic info on it when it was as received, because as received it wouldn't work. Took the gun apart, discovered that the circular spring that is mounted on this bolt here that controls the sear had kind of gotten unraveled from its mounting, and it had embedded itself in the base of the buttstock back here, which shouldn't happen because the safety fits in such a fashion as to put pressure on that spring. So maybe what happened was somebody pulled the bolt out of the top, pulled the bolt out of the gun, and then the spring itself managed to work itself back and lodge itself on the lip of the buttstock. That's a possible explanation because it was stretched out of shape. So we put it on a mandrel, got it as configured as closely as possible as we could to what was supposed to be, reinstall the gun, and the gun ran. Once we got it running, we discovered it wasn't running so hot, about 150 feet a second. So we pulled the shot tube, the 1,000 round shot tube out of it, put it in the vise in an upright position like that, and dribbled about 30 drops of oil out of this dispenser down the bore, let it sit for an hour or so. Then we pulled the shot tube out and repeated the process to get oil smeared all around the inside at the base of the barrel shroud, and let that soak into the leather seals. This gun's equipped with leather seals. Well, it was almost a miraculous treatment, because after we got her soaked up with leather seals, the gun jumped from about 148 feet a second up to 180, which was remarkable. Then we did some other ballistics testings, and the gun right now is set up with a cobalt mainspring, a 764 overbore ear tube, and is running at about 302. So it's a real screamer for a, ancient Daisy gun. Anyway, so that's the mod we did to the gun, that and clean it up. It had its requisite little flecks of paint all over it. I don't know what it is about daisies, but they draw paint. I imagine it's because they hang out in closets most of their lives. Did a little heavy rust reduction. The gun feels like steel now as opposed to sandpaper. And you can actually see, let's go do a roll stamp check. That's going to be really tough to bring into focus. But you can actually read Daisy Defender on it now with the naked eye. 1,000 shot Daisy Defender, model 140. So she's ready to go back to the owner, and whether he hangs it on the wall and looks at it or shoots it, either way, ought to be fine because the gun's running and running pretty well. That's all we've got for you today, kids. This is Shane Bruce with Restomod Daisy signing off.